Welcome everyone. Today I feel very happy because I have a very special guest in this program. Her name is Liane Adebonmire. Adebonmire. She's from Canada, and she's here in Aguascalientes with me, trying to start a project that it's been given to us through Binogi International, which is a digital learning platform. And I want to welcome Liane. Liane, welcome to this program today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rogelio. I'm really excited to be here, to be here in your city, to be here working with you on this, fun and exciting project that we're trying to figure out at the beginning.
That's right, Liane. I want people to understand that, like, how did you end it, or how did you start it in education? What led you to that area?
Wow. I think education has always been part of my life. I've been on the periphery of teaching, and I've always loved learning.
Okay.
I could probably trace it back to high school when I signed up to be a tutor for other classmates that were struggling with different subjects.
So you were the student that helped your other students, like in regular classes?
Yeah, I went to a school where there were other students who were still learning English, and I also excelled in math, so I tutored some math, and I think I got asked to tutor some history as well, and I really enjoyed that. I got to meet a new friend, I got to help someone out, and I think that was first where I felt just like a fire in me of helping someone else succeed, and how that joy was even better than succeeding myself.
Okay, yeah. I've heard that in many teachers, that a common thing that happened to them is that they starting the same way, tutoring classmates, and then they felt that passion, and then they became teachers or trainers. That's amazing. So, and then you went to university.
Right? I did, but I still didn't see education as my career path. I always thought it was something I enjoyed, and I went in actually studying public relations as I started university. I thought that I was a pretty good communicator. I wanted to work with companies, help them cover their tracks. If something went wrong, I wanted them to help create a good public image, right? Well, we know public relations is really about when things don't go right and how to fix it. And I thought, there's probably money in that. This is probably something good to study. So I started studying public relations, and international relations as well, because I thought, I love languages, I love people, maybe I could do something with an international company. That's how I started. But I also, when I was in university, I tutored new immigrants, and I helped them with resumes, and I helped them with interview skills.
Can you, I want to make like a parenthesis in that subject. Can you explain a little bit how important is the migration topic in Canada? Because here in Mexico, we live it in a different way.
Yeah.
And immigration, it's equal to other things. It's political things. But how Canada deals, and how have they dealt in the past, and right now, how are they dealing with immigration?
Yeah, that's a huge topic.
I know.
We could talk for hours about, immigration in general, but because Canada is a relatively small country population-wise, Canada relies a lot on immigration for population growth. And for for economy as well, for finding good employees. A lot of Canada's strategy is accepting foreign workers who they're skilled workers. We have a few different programs, and also through students. Canada's a really robust student visa plan with a 3-year work visa after, and then a pathway to permanent residency. So it's definitely a huge topic. Any large city you go to, you'll find immigrants. And even now in small towns, I grew up in a town of just over 1,000 people. And, predominantly when I grew up there, it was mostly white people
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
who had been, farming families there for generations. But now I go back and I visit my mom, my grandma, and there's families from everywhere.
Okay.
There's nurses from the Philippines who came to work in like
Wow.
to help older citizens, and there's families from everywhere that are settling, even in a small town.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
it's huge. I think. I don't know, in some of the bigger cities, they say like 50% of students at school speak a language other than English at home.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
So
you were
imagine.
mentioned to me that sometimes you find in one classroom 20 different languages.
You could. It's so diverse.
So like,
Because you have students coming in as, and people in general coming in as students, as skilled workers, as family sponsorship. They met someone abroad. Oh, they got married. Now let's bring my family as well. And then you have those who are government sponsored refugees in areas of ongoing conflict. A lot of that is like Middle East or Central Africa. And so you have just a real diverse portfolio of immigration.
yeah.
People come for different purposes and for different reasons.
So now maybe we can just relate that to what you're doing now, which is it's very related online or digital learning with immigrants.
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing now?
For sure.
Okay.
So it's related. I've taken a different, quite a few diversions in a pathway, but now I am working on my PhD and I'm doing research to support teachers who have really diverse classrooms. Because in Canada, we have a regular curriculum of math, science, history, geography, and teachers are expected to teach that content, but also with a very diverse, linguistically diverse, and just diverse in general classroom. So I'm doing research to see specifically how we can support these teachers, and if there are technologies, including like Binogi with the translation, with they have subtitles and audio in different languages. So how can that support a teacher who's feeling overwhelmed with, I know science, I don't know anything about languages.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure many schools are receiving a lot of students, and sometimes they don't know what to do with them.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And Canada sometimes is admired or looked at, in great eyes, which is true for, welcoming immigrants and also having this diversity in the schools and knowing how to support students to learn English. But what we've been finding and what the research shows recently is that while students do learn English quickly, they sometimes fall behind in the subjects like math and science, because I don't know about you, but math and science for me were always pretty challenging.
Yeah.
And I studied them in the language that I grew up with.
Yeah, okay.
So imagine if I have to now go and, I'm learning French, I'm learning Mandarin, and I have to learn math in that subject. I have to learn math in that language.
And is there any defined years in how many years can a student adapt, and is it better to be younger or kindergarten or primary? How that work?
For sure. Well, my co-supervisor at University of Toronto, Jim Cummins, has actually done a lot of research on that, and has found that students will pick up the colloquial language, the social language in about a year or two.
A year.
But it takes them up to 5 to 7 years to get the academic language down. Wow. So back in, maybe 20, 30 years ago, a lot of students were placed in, in classes or they were diagnosed with learning disabilities because they thought, oh, this child can communicate naturally with friends, but still doing really bad on science and math. Yeah. But they realize that it's actually kind of different in your brain to have that social language versus what they call, CALP. It's cognitive academic language proficiency. So it definitely does take a lot longer to get the academic language. And then as for age, yes, it does matter. I think there's like a sweet spot of between like 5 and 8 years old. Somewhere around there is, when they really pick up that language. I'm not exactly sure on the data specifically, and then older, of course, you just don't have as many years to catch up, and also the content's harder. If you're joining a class at you're 6 years old, what are your classmates learning? It's cognitively not as difficult as something in grade 8, 9. When you're 14, 15.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
you're I don't know, doing calculus. That's hard.
Wow. So what what challenge? Because I know you were a teacher in COVID, right? And I mean, you went through that difficult period in terms of education.
Yeah.
In that period, the challenging was to put all the students at the same, well, or in the same platforms, no, with computer, internet, online classes. At this point, which challenges do you think are the ones we're facing now? Like the students, do you think digital learning platforms is the future, or are they still weak, or do we have to work a lot on them, or at some point would that be the answer?
Yeah, I mean, I think that every year technology is the growth, the expansion is incredible. We can look back on the past year and a half and look at what AI has done and how that's impacted our world.
Yeah.
But before that, there's always been some digital learning platforms that existed. I think COVID really forced us to see, okay, what can we do? How far can we stretch? What do we need actually to make this work? Because during COVID, we saw that schools with students who had solid internet at home and who had a laptop available in their family,
Okay.
those students were able to kind of continue on with the class. But I also talked to some teacher colleague friends, and they said, oh yeah, my students, they may or may not have internet at home.
Okay.
They might have 4 siblings and they all share one computer.
Yeah.
So then what?
Then what?
Does,
Yeah.
do you have one student connect for an hour every day, or of the siblings? How do you do that? So there were literally classes and where students just disconnected for months on end, and you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Some schools did have resources to be able to send a laptop home, or to find a way around it, or to get donations, or like lending libraries with laptops. But that's of course a thing of privilege, and to have those resources is not expected.
Yeah, it's not
And
expected.
it wasn't there, and it wasn't needed before. So I do think that now we have some time to look back and see what did we learn, what platforms really did work well, and we have time now to plan how to use these and integrate digital tools into classrooms now. I think there's a fine line of how much technology is
Yeah.
needed in education, just because kids, well, not just kids, we're all addicted
To technology.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes life easier. Or I have this theory. I don't know if it makes sense, but the more apps that we use in our daily life, the more tasks we take from our jobs. We have Google Calendar,
Yeah.
and then okay, it's great because you can have your calendar and your agenda on the computer and your phone. Great, and then we have Slack, and then you're not WhatsApp's not enough. Now you have Slack, and then you get into more meetings because you have. I've never seen it, but I started to use IA to take notes out of my meetings.
Yeah.
So the problem is instead of me having more time to plan something else, I'm taking more meetings in my day because I thought by IA taking my notes, I could have the summary of the meeting quicker, and it's not because I get lost because instead of having one, I have 4 or 5 or 10, and then it becomes your inbox email. It just gets crazy. So technology, of course, it helps, but as humans, I think the more we can take, the more we'll take it, and it doesn't matter if it harms us. It takes time to realize that okay, this is helping me, but it's impossible for me to keep up with this. And the companies, they expect that. They expect many reports and they expect many presentations, and I see people more busy the more they use technology than before.
Yeah. My mom always says that she always has this quote that intelligent people think that they can do more
Yeah.
with the time that they have than they can. And she's like, that is actually a sign of intelligence. Like, okay, well, yeah. And now it's really like artificial intelligence
Yeah.
too. Because even I think when we are in a meeting and we take 5-10 minutes after the meeting to write down key points or action items, that
Yeah.
helps us process what we just did. Whereas if we are in a meeting and we use a note-taking AI app that summarizes the meeting, that creates us action items, like we're not doing that processing. So I think even if, it goes to the inbox, we send it to our colleague, but now we the moment we hung up from that meeting, we're not processing it anymore. And so I think we are losing something of, what our brain does
Okay.
in processing.
And it makes sense. I
Yeah.
take music classes. And it's amazing how everything in terms of learning is related. My teacher, he says, don't worry about your mistakes. Just keep playing. Because your brain at some point, he knows when you are playing the right note. And after 100 times of playing it, and probably you did it 3 times right, that's what your brain knows that you did it right. So the next day or after an hour or after 3 minutes of processing it, your brain will connect that information and then you'll play it right. So it's amazing how the brain works in terms of learning. And it's like you said, there are not shortcuts in terms of learning. You have to go to the process, you have to do mistakes, and then you have to practice and practice so that your brain feel rewarded because you're doing something right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So once we have said that, how can we give an advice, or now that you and me, we are working in this digital platform, how can we avoid these problems for the kids? Because we want the digital technology to be available for everyone.
Yeah.
But we don't want the students to stop thinking and to stop their learning process. How would you, I mean, what can we do?
Yeah. So I think it's really important that we look at digital learning platforms as tools and nothing else. Humans throughout history have just gotten better at creating new tools and using new tools.
Yeah.
If we even look way back when, cave people, they were finding rocks and making swords and things. And how they found their food source was through a tool, and that's what they used for hunting. That's what they used for survival. Then we think of, way advanced, like cars. Cars is another tool that is transportation.
Yeah.
I think I've read before that people were very skeptical that cars could replace horses. And now we're like, what?
Yeah.
So I really think that digital learning, like these platforms and, and apps and programs and websites and all of these things are just tools that we can use. And so we have to use them responsibly. And we cannot expect the children to intuitively know how to use them.
Okay.
So I think it really comes down to the teacher. Teachers are amazing, and I admire every teacher in any situation because really you have a lot of power and you have a lot of responsibility because we love technology as adults. Kids love technology probably more than us.
Yeah.
And you show a kid a device, they're gonna love it.
Yeah, and they know how to use it.
Yeah, and they do. They're gonna be way better at it than you in 20 minutes. Than might take you all day to learn something.
Yep.
And so I think with this technology, we have to be able to be confident as adults, as educators, to be able to use it.
Yeah.
We have to know what we're doing. We have to have a plan for it.
Okay.
And we have to fit it into our teaching strategies. We have to fit it into the pedagogy that we want. And we can't just say, oh, here's a tool. Students.
Use it. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been like 20 minutes, I think.
Okay.
We have to end the interview today. Okay. So thank you very much, Len. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I really admire what you do. And I'm always thankful of learning things from you. And I'll see you soon. I hope I'll see you in Sweden, in Binogi, Sweden, or in Canada. No, next time.
Yeah, awesome. No, thank you so much for having me. And I look forward, to future conversations.
Great. Thank you.